Today on Running to Him. Those married to a Christian spouse should remain married. A believing spouse should not initiate a divorce. Today's reading is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 12 through 25, and we'll concentrate on verses 12 through 15. 1 Corinthians 7, 12 through 15 says, "But to the rest I say, not the Lord, if the brother has a wife who is an unbeliever and she consents to live with him, he must not divorce her. And a woman who has an unbelieving husband, and he consents to live with her, she must not send her husband away. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified through his wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified through her believing husband. For otherwise your children are unclean, but now they are holy. Yet if the unbelieving one leaves, let him leave. The brother or sister is not in bondage in such cases, but God has called us to peace." Today may be a little tough, and it might be contentious. If you read or hear something with which you disagree, please let me know. The subject is complex, and I've wrestled with it for a long time. Please forgive me if I offend someone because of their experience and a perception that I don't understand. Paul now begins a section that goes through the rest of the chapter. Tomorrow we will address the issue of marriage versus singleness, but today we'll address the issue of marriage between a believer and a non-believer and touch on a divorce between believers. In the first few centuries of the church, many people came to Christ after marriage. Today we're also experiencing somewhat of the same situation. When a spouse turns their life over to Christ and the other remains a non-believer, stress is bound to appear. The believing spouse desires to see their partner come to Christ, and the unbelieving spouse may feel the loss of their partner to another love. This situation is clearly shown in the movie The Case for Christ. This movie centers on a man by the name of Lee Strobel, who struggles when his wife becomes a Christian. The basic concept is a believer is never to seek a divorce, whether married to a believer or an unbelieving spouse. But the believing spouse is free if the unbelieving spouse wants a divorce. And there are two reasons for this principle. First, the believing spouse may bring the unbelieving spouse to Christ, as was the case of Lee Strobel. Secondly, children from the marriage will have a chance to see how a believer might live a successful Christian walk in the world of non-believers. God calls each of us to holiness and compassion, and we learn to practice those attributes through many different experiences. Now I'd like to address a situation where a spouse suffers physical harm or even profound psychological harm from the other partner in the marriage. While Paul does not address this issue, I think the principle I'm presenting is consistent with Paul's intent. A spouse must never put themselves in harm's way. In addition, their children must be protected at all times. If a believing spouse finds themselves in a dangerous situation, they should seek safety somewhere else. This includes removing the children from the situation. At that point, counseling may or may not resolve the problem, and if the issue remains, the injured spouse and any children must remain separated from the abusing spouse. But if the abusing spouse does not seek a divorce, even though they are separated and might remain so for the rest of their lives, the believing spouse should not initiate a divorce. Paul states that through the believing spouse's witness, the unbelieving spouse might come to Christ. While remaining married and physically separated from someone with little chance of reconciliation may be a difficult pill to swallow, and if a believer is to get through this, they must be surrounded by their church family for support and help. The children will also struggle. However, through parental love and witness, they will learn how God can take them through difficult times. Thank you for listening. We pray that today's devotion was meaningful to you. We would love to hear from you. You can use either Facebook or YouTube to like, subscribe, share, and tell others about us. If you would like to contact us, you can reach me at phineasjacobus@runningtohim.net.